Susan Harris, and I'm with the Three Apple Storytelling Festival here in Bedford, Mass. This is our third year in Bedford, and we have a wonderful event with 18 storytellers today. Despite the rain, lots of folks have come out and to tell stories, to listen to stories, and there are people here of all ages. It's a wonderful time in Bedford, and we're building community through stories. People have come from all over the country to Bedford, Mass for this event.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone, and welcome to the 24th annual Three Apple Storytelling Festival. We're so excited to have the festival in Bedford now. It's our third year. I'm Doris Smith, and I'm on the planning committee. And one aspect of storytelling that we thought needed to be addressed were the stories of Bedford. And so today we have 4 tellers that are going to share Bedford stories.
Is it working all right? Everyone hear me? Yeah. Like she said, I've been here all my life. 2 years old, so now 85. I have a lot of funny stories that happen in this town, and also in this town hall, that I'm going to tell a few of them. Right on the stage in 1936, James Michael Curley stood. He gave a political talk when he was running for governor. When the speech was over, I slid down that banister rail and went home, and I said, gee, what a great talker he was. Right here, I have an article that I xeroxed out of the town report in 1927. We had a wonderful police department then. We had 2 policemen in town. And one of the problems we had, they said, we have an ever-increasing automobile traffic on Great Road, and something has to be done about it. Right back in 1927, we had a problem. My bride and her collection had things. I'm a family dealer also, an old paper dealer. I found this deed dated 1713. Probably, this is before Bedford was Bedford. It was made up of Concord and Billerica. And this says right here, Mr. Harlow of Concord, Massachusetts. Bedford wasn't even thought of when this was on. And it's very, very old and very, very fragile. So I'm going to put it back to reproduction.
Thank you for coming. I just wanted a brief history on how my grandparents met. He was from Holland, and he was visiting his friend, which was my grandmother's brother. And they were in the living room of their house, and he noticed on the piano was the sheet music of Tiptoe Through the Tulips. And that kind of started their conversation, and explained it wasn't before long they were dating. And when they were dating, my grandfather had an Indian motorcycle, and my great-grandfather told my grandmother, says, I do not want you riding on the back of that motorcycle. So she respected my great-grandfather's opinion, and so she would meet my grandfather down the road, so he'd never even see her on that. So he wouldn't have to worry. Well, they finally bought the farm in Bedford. My grandmother worked at Waltham Watch as a machinist reaming hand grenade parts, and that contributed a big part of the down payment to buy the farm. So she was a major contributor. And through the years, there's been a lot of stories being told by my grandmother and my father, and they always would talk about the different things, the odd things that would happen on the farm. And the things that you just wouldn't even think of that could happen. And one of the ones was my uncle, who was still on the farm before he went into the service. A skunk had fallen down in the cellar, and they couldn't get the skunk out. He wouldn't climb out the stairs on his own. And in addition to being in the cellar, that's also where all the eggs are graded and processed, so you don't want to mix the two. So my uncle had heard that if you grabbed a skunk by the tail, he couldn't straighten it. So he sat there, and he was probably about 18 or so, 17, 18, and so he sat there and talked quietly with the skunk and made good friends with him, and all of a sudden grabbed him. And the last thing my father saw was my uncle running out of the cellar with the skunk and threw him over the hedge. He didn't get him sprayed, so he made it through.
You all have 1 minute. Mr. Dodge has one more story, and when he's done, I have 2 invitations for you. One is that you will come and meet these fine tellers and ask them any questions you have. And second, lunch is being served over in the common room in the church, and so please get yourself some sustenance so you have the energy to hear more stories this afternoon. So one quick one, John.
This will last 30 seconds. I told about the crime. I did mention we had a big kidnapping thing happen in Bedford. Huge big kidnapping. That's been going on for like a long, long time. Mike, I can say his name, Mike Winchebow, and Mrs. Stacy. Mrs. Stacy had about 15 or 18 cats. She loved her cats. Every once in a while, one of the cats would be missing. Mike had gathered the cat up and put it in the cellar, fed it, took good care of it. Mrs. Stacy would call, Mike, I lost another cat. Will you help me find it? Well, I'll help you find it, Mrs. Stacy. He had the cat in the cellar. He was rewarded 50 cents. This went on for like 2 years, and they finally got caught. God bless Mike.